Monday, 4 February. I received a parcel from home today with this book enclosed.
From the mouths of children, the words of a century ago.
21st of August, big push started on our front. Bombardment started about 5 a.m.
Private George Kellett's diary, a personal perspective on a global conflict.
It wasn't all trenches, it was boring and it was mundane and exciting and terrifying, and it encapsulates all of that.
It's been around for virtually 100 years and fortunately has retained its legibility and a reasonable condition. So it's still there for people to look at and read and wonder about.
100 years since it was first penned, Private Kellett's diary is bringing the Great War to life for a new generation.
This gentleman's called George Kellett, and he lived on Bowman Street, which some of you might live on now.
George was most likely a former pupil at this very school. Now his great niece has returned to share his story in his own words.
This diary gave one soldier's experience of what it was like to actually be out there and facing gunfire, bombs every day for over a year.
George served as a trench builder in France in 1918. He wrote about anything from burying enemy soldiers to exchanging letters with his family back home.
Are there particular entries that strike you the most as particularly interesting?
During the time he was out there, his sister, my mother's mother, died. So those were two particularly poignant entries in his diary. First of her death and second of her burial.
What I like about it is so matter of fact, it's just the nuts and bolts. That generation didn't really tell you how they felt. And you get that sense from this diary, it's what I did, it's not how I felt.
6th of September, went out burying dead Germans and horses.
3 more fellows in the platoon got killed and 4 or 5 wounded going up. 14th September, brought in the bodies of our MGS who had been killed.
The reaction of the Armistice is interesting. His again is just pretty much, this is what happened, this is what I heard. The 11th of November, we heard an armistice.
That an armistice had been signed, but we keep hearing explosions and cannot tell whether it's gunfire or not.
Having returned home the following year, George's diary was then found in his shed soon after he died, rarely having shared his personal accounts of his time at war.
That has made me see him in a more significant light, I suppose. Just what a sort of contribution he and so many others actually made, but were not really taken a great deal of notice of, because they just came back and got on with their lives.